Hi, I'm Dr. Marianne,
I'm Dr. Adam, and we are,
counselors in quarantine.
sponsored by our boss, Dr. Lacey Carpillo, Vice President for Student Affairs.
Yeah, so today we wanted to talk to you about the concept of grace and kind of looking at what happens when we don't have it, what happens when we do have it, and how we can use grace to actually help us kind of work through and metabolize a lot of other feelings that we're having. So when we don't have it, a lot of times what can happen is we end up just getting more controlling and more rigid inside. And I think about just, all the changes that have transitions through the pandemic, everything that people have lost, that has been outside of our control, all the powerlessness that we've all experienced in so many different ways. And a lot of times then what happens is when we go into like fear and anxiety and even anger, because like anger is part of that grieving cycle. And if we don't grieve properly, we just kind of get stuck in anger. We can end up getting really, really judgmental. And I like to think about kind of like judging and judgment as in some ways the opposite of kind of a gracious response. And so it's really just important to recognize when we're judging ourselves, putting ourselves down, we're not good enough, there's something wrong with me, I should be better, I should be different, or we're judging other people, like they shouldn't be that way, what's wrong with them, then there's not any real healing or really any growth that's occurring.
Yeah.
Nothing good really grows under judgment. And so the antidote to that is to kind of adopt a posture and a presence of grace.
Yeah, I think about, people that I've worked with and especially, students, it's really common. They come in here and they want to kind of not make mistakes and do really, really well at everything that they do. A lot of, really sort of go-getter types.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like from probably conception up until this point, they've had a framework of like, I just don't make mistakes, right? Or I try really hard to mitigate mistakes. And so I often like to talk about this idea of getting really good at repairing mistakes, repairing relationships, trying to get good at making big mistakes and that to be okay, right? Because great our judgment, as you were talking, I often think about judgment towards others and shame towards self and how those are the emotions that we can get us stuck ultimately. And so when you can take a different posture, and you often, Marianne, talk about this idea of grace as a consequence, right? Or I like to talk about it as an opportunity, right? Because for people who are used to just never, ever making mistakes, it's like, well, here's an opportunity for you to do it differently, maybe in a way that you've never done it before. And to say, okay, I'm going to choose this time to really have some empathy for myself and some love and to understand that like, yeah, I don't know, it's an opportunity for grace.
Yeah. And remembering that grace is one of those sort of foundational ingredients that sets up kind of an environment or a relationship to be able to kind of heal and to grow and for good stuff to happen. And
Yeah.
so if you find yourself in this place of kind of harsher judgment and anger, it's important to be curious about that. Because the other person really isn't the problem. Okay. Or the situation isn't the problem. Like the problem is somewhere inside for you. And I mean, that might be a problem too on the outside, but the problem is that you're not able to kind of metabolize your experience and then get to a place of rest and a place of calm and a place of goodness. And so when we're not able to do that, then what we need is just someone to kind of demonstrate grace to us. Like sometimes it's almost like we run out of grace. We run out of love sometimes for other people. We run out of some of these like compassion and kindness. And so the idea is to really connect with some of your bad parts, some of the ways that you've messed up, and go to a safe relationship and say, hey, like I need some help. I need some grace. Like I did this with my supervisor over the winter. I'm like, I'm not doing well. I'm underperforming. And so she gave me tons of grace. And then I was able to get my work done. And so she gave me grace as a consequence for not doing my work. And that enabled me to get my work done. So sometimes that can be the most helpful approach.
Yeah. And so that's our spiel on grace. Hope this is helpful. I want to thank everybody for tuning in, and look forward to, doing more of this in the future.
Thanks.